Hi, and welcome to this episode of John's Model Kit Review. In today's episode, we are looking at Airfix's 1/48 scale Supermarine Spitfire Mk.Vb. And this is Airfix kit number A05125. In this On the Workbench model kit review, we're going to be looking at the surface detailing on the kit. We'll also be looking at the interior detailing. We will take a look at the instructions for the kit. We'll look at the color callouts and marking options for the kit. We'll also take a look at the clear parts that are included with it, the decals, and we'll talk about some potential problem areas to watch out for, as well as some detail upgrades that I'm doing to this kit while I'm building it. And we will attempt to answer the question, is Airfix's Spitfire 5B the best Mark V Spitfire currently available? Looking at the instructions, steps 1 through 5 deal with the interior sidewall detail and the seat. If you're going to be adding seat belts to the kit, I would suggest cutting out the slot for the seat belts in the pilot's headrest armor, and that is part C23. And you can see I've got a picture, I've already cut that out on the part. You can also see on the sidewall detail here, everything looks decent. It's going to look nice once it's detail painted. As you can see here, there's a mold glitch on the lower box on the left side of the fuselage here. Steps 6 through 10 also continue with the interior. The detail on the instrument panel is provided in the form of a decal. It doesn't quite line up with the dials, but it should be acceptable for what's visible through the cockpit on a Spitfire. I would recommend adding a compass face decal on part number C4, simply because that's going to be easily visible through the cockpit canopy. Steps 11 through 14 continue on with the interior construction, and there shouldn't be any real surprises here. Step 15 covers the optional pilot figure. Step 16 is installing the interior into the sides of the aircraft. There's also a decision to be made whether or not to pose the cockpit open or closed. And if you're going to pose it open, you need to cut out some plastic from the fuselage sidewall. One thing I noticed here was there are some sink marks on the sidewall on the fuselage halves. I had to go in and clean up the sink marks where the cockpit is going to fit, just to make sure that it's got a good fit to the sidewalls of the fuselage. In steps 17 and 18, it's adding the final detail to the interior and closing up the fuselage. Again, if you're going to pose the canopy open, there's some cutting and trimming that needs to be done to the fuselage halves. In step 19, once the fuselage is closed up, we are adding the fuel tank cover in the front of the cockpit here, and that's either part D33 or B16, depending on which option you're doing. And I've got some pictures here. Once everything is kind of held together, once the fuselage halves are joined, the fit of this part, this might present some challenge here. There seems to be a gap at the front while it fits very tight at the bottom, and it's also a little bit raised compared to the engine cover in front of it. And speaking of the engine cover, when you push the fuselage halves together, you can see there is a panel line that goes right across the top of the nose, and it simply does not line up at all. So that is going to have to be filled and rescribed. I'm just not sure why that panel line is so skewed. When you look at the rear of the fuselage, all the panel lines line up precisely. In step 20, we are starting to add the detail to the wheel wells, and it's also time to drill out some holes depending on what options you want on the kit, so study that carefully. In steps 21 through 23, it's more detailed to the wheel bays, and you want to be very careful and very precise with parts C30 and C31 because those are the top of the landing gear legs. I'm not sure how I feel about the design of this landing gear setup, but we'll see how it turns out in the end. It's going to be a butt join between the landing gear and parts C30 and C31, and I'm hoping that that's strong enough to withstand the test of time and the weight of the model over time. Step 24 covers the last parts that box in the wheel well. It also covers the landing light underneath the plane. In step 25, we are joining the upper and lower wings. I deviated from the instructions here. I have glued the upper wings directly to the fuselage, and I do this in order to get a really precise wing to fuselage fit. And as you can see here, I was able to get a very, very nice fit. I don't think that's going to cause me any construction hassles later on. Step 26 is joining the wing and the fuselage. Steps 27 through 30 cover the tailplanes and rudder. And I am upgrading this kit by adding some leftover tailplanes and rudder and ailerons from an Eduard kit. As you can see here, I've cut away some material where the tailplanes mount while dry fitting the Eduard tailplanes to the kit. And I'm almost done dry fitting. I should get a very precise fit when these are finished. Step 31 covers the ailerons. And again, I've got Eduard parts to replace the kit parts. And that's simply because of the additional detail on the Eduard parts. Steps 32 and 33 covers the intake, and you just have to pick which option you want to do and build it accordingly. Steps 34 through 37 cover the radiator and optional belly tank. The radiator is an area where I've had fit issues on Airfix kits of the past, and as you can see, this one actually fits really nicely. I should be able to get this in there with no seams, no gaps around the radiator. It's just set in place currently. Steps 38 and 39 cover the assembly and installation of the oil cooler. Steps 40 and 41 cover the landing gear on the aircraft, and you can do this either retracted or extended. Step 42 covers the installation of the exhaust and the cannons. Step 43 covers the assembly of the prop and the installation of the prop. And here's a picture of the prop I'm going to use. It needs some cleanup yet. The detail isn't outstanding on this, but it's about equal with the rest of the kit. Step 44 just covers the gun sight. Step 45 is fairly involved, and it covers the installation of the canopy glass. And I would say just take your time with this. It depends on which option you want as far as the marking option. It also depends on if you want the canopy open or closed. Just take your time with this and you should achieve a pretty decent result. Looking at the clear parts, everything actually looks pretty decent on the sprue here. I haven't checked the fit yet, and the clarity looks like it's going to be decent. You'll probably have some distortion in the plastic from the blown canopies. That's hard to get around, but we'll see how they look when they're actually installed on the kit. And step 46 is the final step. It just covers the radio antenna and the light on top of the plane. There are two marking options in this kit. The first marking option is for an aircraft that flew from Malta in 1942. I actually used these decals on a Tamiya kit that I built recently, and here's a picture of that. The decals behave just fabulously. So the plane I'm going to build is the second marking option. This one is done in the colors of number 317 Polish Fighter Squadron. Airfix really did a great job on these decals. They did a great job on the color research, and the marking guide is just world class. It's in color. It has 4 views of the aircraft, and it really makes painting these planes very easy. It takes a lot of guesswork out of reading like all black and white instructions. In conclusion, when this kit was released a couple of years ago, it got really good reviews for its overall shape fidelity to the original. It was the most accurate Spitfire V at the time of its release. The engraved surface detail on the kit is restrained. It'll look nice under a coat of paint. It seems consistent on the exterior of the kit. What is there looks really nice. I would say this kit definitely does not hold a candle to, say, an Eduard kit or a Tamiya kit in the amount of engraved detail that's there and in the finesse of the detail that's there. The clear parts look decent. I don't see any mold glitches or anticipate any problems with those. The interior detail is certainly adequate for what can be seen through the kit canopy. The instructions on the kit are world class. Very good, very clear. The marking guide on this kit, again, world class, very good. The decals are excellent and top notch. On the downside, it seems like there will be some fit issues on the gas tank cover, especially between the gas tank cover and the engine cover. And also on the top of the nose. I'm not sure why the scribing there is so far off and doesn't match up. The very front of the nose as well, you're going to have to use some putty here. There's no way to fill that gap. So the top of the nose is still an issue on this Airfix Spitfire, as it has been on Airfix Spitfires of the past. There is some cleanup needed on the sinkholes and the interior sides of the fuselage. Is this Airfix Spitfire V currently the best Spitfire V available? Well, as I said, at the time of its introduction, it was. But in subsequent years, Eduard has released a Spitfire V, and so has Tamiya. as far as surface detailing, as far as engineering of the plastic parts, and as far as fit, those kits are more precise and will result in more precise, better looking models in the end. Is this kit still worth building? I would say certainly it's worth a build. I'm looking forward to finishing this one, and it honestly should turn out really nice. It's going to be a good looking kit of a Spitfire V when you're done. Well, I'd love to know what you guys think. If any of you have built this kit before and want to share your experience, please feel free to do so in the comment section below. As always, I hope you found this video entertaining and informative, and until next time, model on.